Portofino Gray Metallic is a very sharp color choice inside of the Hyundai Sonata, especially when you pair it with the bold new styling that Hyundai introduced for the 2024 model year. This is the preferred trim level in Canada, which, when you look at a US equivalent, is very close to the SEL. There is the option for the convenience pack in the SEL in the States, which is going to give you a boatload of other features that you'll only find inside of our N-Line version of the vehicle. The Sonata is pretty reasonably priced as well, in Canada starting off at $35,200, in the States at $28,600. And that's obviously going to go up depending, are you front wheel versus all-wheel drive? Do you have the N-Line, or are you in the limited hybrid that's down in the States? Now, the hybrid was technically available throughout North America in 2023, but as of right now, it looks like it might just be available in the States for the 2024 model. If that's changed, I'll update you and let you know down in the description. As I mentioned, you're going to find the Sonata front-wheel drive standard with the option of upgrading to Hyundai's all-wheel drive system instead. Do you even need all-wheel drive is going to depend on where you live. I'm in Canada. We get snow all the time, and all-wheel drive handles way, way better than front-wheel drive. But if you throw a good set of winter tires on front-wheel drive, you're going to get better fuel economy. So do you go front-wheel versus all-wheel drive? It's going to depend on you. You'll save yourself a couple $1,000 sticking with front-wheel drive, and you aren't able to get the all-wheel drive version across the entire vehicle lineup either. Series of different wheel choices that are available, so either 17, 18, or 19-inch wheels, with the 19-inch being specifically for the N-Line, and then the 17s are standard in the SEL version of the States with the option of upgrading to these 18s instead. The wheel style is pretty neat, but one thing that I would definitely do, even though I like the overall style, I'm not too crazy about the silver on the outside. I just hydro dip them instead, do like a faux carbon fiber to really make them pop. I do like the front end of the Sonata. It honestly reminds me of the Ioniq 6, the fully electric. That sedan is amazing. There's an LED light bar along the very front that's got a nice glossy highlight. And that glossy highlight, that bezel that follows all the way throughout the lamps there as well. LED headlamps, and then you just have this beautiful gloss front end. So gloss grille, bumper there has a little metallic highlight on the very bottom. There's some technology that you're going to find exclusively in the limited hybrid version of the vehicle. That'd be a front-facing camera and front parking sensors. But outside of that, you're not going to get that technology inside of the majority of the trim level of the Sonata. Underneath the hood of the Sonata, surprisingly on hydraulics, which is pretty nice. But there are technically 3 different engine choices that are available. So it's a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated, like what we're looking at here. You can get a 2.5-liter turbocharged in the N-Line, and then the hybrid is a 2-liter. The hybrid system is the best if you want the best possible fuel economy, but still, the 2.5-liter, even front wheel versus all wheel, is still solid. And what that translates to power-wise is 191 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. The 2.5-liter is pretty respectable. Let's hop into sport mode here. And I'm also going to be utilizing the paddle shifters. So I want to do a little 0 to 60 or 100 kilometer test in 3, 2, just waiting for these cars to pass, 1, and here we go. $100. That's not bad. But when you look at that 2.5-liter turbocharged in the N-Line, that kicks it up a notch and a half. 290 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. So if power is your thing, you're definitely going to want to go for that 2.5-liter turbo in the N-Line. Looking at the warranty in the Hyundai world, your basic in powertrain in Canada is a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer. In the States, your basic is a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to an impressive 10-year, 100,000 mile, which is pretty solid. And then the EV components are covered for 8 years. I do wish that we had a 10-year option in Canada. You can technically increase it at time of purchase when you buy your vehicle, but that 10-year, 100,000 mile is pretty solid at the same time. The rear end styling of the Sonata is pretty aggressive. The tail lamps inside the vehicle have the same black bezel that you saw along the front end. Then there's this cyberpunk-esque type of design along the back part of the lamps. It's really neat. There is the option for the reverse sensing system inside the vehicle, but you're always going to have the backup camera there regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. And you can get into the trunk so many ways. There's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. Just above the Hyundai badge, you can also push there to open it up. There's a manual button on the key fob. And then there's also the option of using the smart power liftgate. You have to walk away, so make sure you're locked. Get about 10 to 15 feet away for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then, as long as you've got the key fob on you, you've got a handful of groceries, kids, or you just don't feel like pushing the buttons to open it up, smart trunk! Absolutely love it. If you want to know how to use the different key fob features, including that smart trunk, you'll find it down in the description. There's not really much back here. Like, there's nothing off to the right side or the left side. Lifting the liner up, you are going to find the tire mobility kit. So there's no spare tire inside the vehicle, but one nice thing is that you could technically remove that little piece in order to throw a mini spare tire in there yourself, or even a full-size spare if you really wanted to. One of the nice things about being a Hyundai owner is that you do have access to roadside assistance. So yeah, the inflator kit's there, but if you did have a spare, or if you needed a tow to a dealership or to a tire shop, you do have access to roadside assistance. And that's good for 5 years, unlimited mileage. So if you pop a tire, puncture a tire, if you need fuel delivery, winching services, if you've locked yourself out, call an 800 number and they'll come to help out. Folding down the second row seats is like a two-tiered approach to do it. Unless you're tall. I'll show you that in a second, but there's a little lever along the top you can pull to release the seat. And then inside the second row, just gonna grab and drop in order to lower the seat. But if you're taller, on the right side, so the passenger side here, release, and push in order to drop the seats down. It's a 40-60 split, so 40 on the driver, 60 on the passenger, but you can fold down one side or the other. There is a little lip in the back separating the trunk from the second row, but there's a pretty solid amount of cargo space inside this ride. Filling up fuel inside of the Sonata is done just along the driver's side. And one nice thing is that when the car's locked, the gas cover is locked as well. So you do have to unlock in order to open it up. And it does have a cap on there too. If you're worried about fuel theft, you could always get an aftermarket cover. Those are available. Front wheel drive is going to be better fuel economy than all wheel drive. The 2.5 liter naturally aspirated will have better fuel economy than the 2.5 liter turbocharged. And one surprising thing is I took this on a little bit of a road trip when I went to go pick it up. So highway driving specifically, about a 50 kilometer trip, I was averaging 6.2 liters per 100, which is about 38 miles per gallon. This is not the hybrid, but I was getting incredible fuel economy. I was going the speed limit and it wasn't much stop and go traffic, but if you're just coasting, going the posted speed limit, you're gonna get really good fuel economy out of this 2.5 liter engine. The Sonata is a pretty low profile sedan. I'm 6 feet tall and I am towering over this thing. But even though it's pretty small profile, doesn't mean it's difficult getting into the first row or getting into the second. Plenty spacious, which I'll show you in just a second. Love that little highlight there. That's cool. And then when you get into the end line, there's also going to be signals on the side view mirrors. It's just because this is not the end line that it's not there. But it does have the blind spot monitoring system. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, that's going to highlight to let you know. As long as you've got the fob on you as well. So you can push there to lock the door or slide your hand in to unlock. Oh, we'll get to that interior in a second. But you've got this nice like neoprene highlight there and a metallic highlight that traces all the way around the handle. Might be seat memory buttons available in your Sonata depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. So you just set your driver's seat up the way that you'd like to, push set, and then either 1 or 2 for it to remember your personal profile. As always, just your side view mirror controls, window controls, and then kill off power to those rear windows. And then you got a little bit of door storage there with one speaker. There's this interesting little highlight, but that traces through the dash along the passenger side as well. You can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster, traction control on or off, the electronic parking brake, and then open and close the trunk from the inside. The seat is pretty neat. So basic controls there. So forwards, backwards, up and down. You can adjust your backrest, and then there's two-way lumbar support. But there are a few different types of seats that are available. So it's either going to be a cloth seat, this leather seat, or there's a Napa leather seat instead when you get into the N-Line version of the vehicle. These are just the regular carpeted liners as well. I honestly recommend going for the thermoplastic rubber trays. The big reason to get those trays instead is it's just so much easier to clean them down rather than cleaning down mats. You just pop out the trays, spray them down, and you're good to go. You could do that here, but you don't have to worry about the scrubbing element of it. WeatherTech has some great ones that are available as well. But the seat, super comfortable inside this ride. Really nice. I haven't been inside of a cloth seats inside the vehicle because we can only get it with this leather. But still, if these seats are any indication, it's nice and there's so much space. Oh, the seat's as far down as it's going to go. Up overhead, it's a little tight, 2.5-ish, maybe 3 inches of headspace. So it's not a big vehicle by any stretch, but I mean, with me being 6 feet tall, there's still plenty of room inside the car. Not bad. Push button start across the vehicle lineup. That's nice. Cluster screen is pretty nice. There are technically two different options for the cluster and two different versions of the infotainment system. So there's one version that's stretched digital all the way across, but this one is just the 4.2, where this is the only adjustable element. You've got your basics though. You see your turnstocks, but it has paddle shifters. Love paddle shifters. So mine is on the left, plus on the right-hand side. So if you need to, you can drop down in order to get a bit more speed, in order to push yourself forward, rely on engine braking, things like that. But if you've never used paddle shifters before, check down in the description for a walkthrough on how that works. And same thing with the adaptive cruise control system. So the adaptive smart cruise is such a useful feature once you actually get the hang of it. Yeah, straightforward. No Hyundai badge in the middle. They're going for this interesting little highlight instead. And like you mentioned, there are two different options for the infotainment system. One of them is going to have factory nav. This one doesn't. But even if yours doesn't have navigation, it's not a big deal because you can now hook up wirelessly across the board. Amazing for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you can use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze right through this screen instead. But I like the graphical highlights that Hyundai did to update the screen compared to the previous model. I think that's pretty nice. It's good. You've got your basic phone, nice info projection for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Media, there are tons of options available as always. So you've got your USB music is there, but there's AM, FM, Sirius XM available as an option as well. But yeah, let's actually go USB. So downside of the newer Hyundais is that they don't have options for USB Type A. It's all USB Type C now. But there's this handy little dongle that goes from USB Type A to USB Type C. And then you just have to make sure, so these either a charge mode or a charge and data mode. So be in that mode in order to get to your USB music. Oh yeah, so many options available. Yeah, so USB popping up here. Ooh, before that plays. Okay, here we go. So the audio test that we're going to do, it's coming right out of the microphone here. So there's no post-processing done whatsoever. There are two different speaker choices available inside of the Sonata. So it's either going to be a 6-speaker system or there's a 12-speaker Bose. This one is unfortunately just the 6-speaker audio system, but I've been in other Hyundais with the Bose setup and it is so good. But for the sake of comparison, because I'm not normally in a car with the smaller speaker choices, take a listen to what this sounds like. I mean, nice and relaxing music. Let's go for something a little bit more rock rappy instead, just to kind of get a better feel for it. So same idea. This is coming just out of the microphone here. No post-processing done at all.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous.
I mean, I would say that's pretty good.
I got all this potential that's deep inside of me, but they hate when you're successful because they try to be.
I would say that's pretty damn good audio. And this is just the 6-speaker setup. Really, really solid audio inside of this ride. Nice. I will give them that. The sound is really good here. And I've only changed a few small things inside of the system. But I mean, yeah, there's so many different options for audio. You've got your sounds of nature as always. So if you want something a little bit more relaxing, that's also available. So neat. But yeah, like I said, full walkthrough, you'll find that down in the description. One thing that I really like though, so you've got all of these buttons down the center here. If you're in a Hyundai that doesn't have factory navigation, if you're hooked up over Android or iPhones, you could push the map button there and it would launch into your maps on your phone. Really useful. I love the forward thinking on Hyundai's part for that. You do have dual zone climate control inside the ride, the option for a heated steering wheel for multiple levels, and your basic climate controls. Mentioned the USB power points with little 12-volt power point there. There's the option for a wireless charge pad in some trim levels of the vehicle as well. There's a series of selectable drive modes. So you've got your normal, sport, your custom mode, and then a snow mode as well. So it's going to play with traction control, stability control, but the sport mode is definitely the way to go. Is rather than shifting at, let's say, like 3,500 or like 2,500 RPM, I should say, it might shift at like 4,000 plus RPM. So it just gives you an infinitely sportier performance in comparison. So what I normally recommend is sport mode on regular city streets and then go to normal mode on the highway. Auto hold, if you've got the auto hold setting engaged, it's a neat one because if you come to a complete stop and you're in drive, you take your foot off the brake and the car is not moving because the auto hold setting is engaged. It's a pretty good safety setting. And then this, just for your basic backup camera there as well. So you've kind of got like a down view. You can go for backup versus a wide view instead. There is the option for the full 360 camera that's only available in the limited trim level of the hybrid. That backup camera though is really cool, the 360 cam. You've got your basic cup holders there, little grab there, and an armrest with pretty decent amount of space. Yeah, I mentioned so that same highlight follows all the way through. Glove box with a decent amount of space. There's the manual dimming, rear view mirror there. You've also got the tow mode, SOS mode if you need help, control your cabin lights, and then there's also the button for the sunroof, but it's pretty neat. So it's multi-function to a degree. So if you did just a light press, that's going to open up the shade. Really quick too, which is kind of cool. You can then push up for a cross breeze or button press to open it up. But I mean, when you open it up, this is so nice. And then from there, so multifunction in the sense that if you do a light press and hold, you're just going to start closing. But if you do a harder press and hold, it's going to close everything in tandem. So hard press. Closes it all instead. That's just really neat. I love the way that Hyundai's done that. From there's also visor, vanity mirror, light over top. There's a little ticket receipt holder. And then this, oh, do you extend out? Oh, you do. Blocking all of the sun. That's going to be hitting your face. But like I said, the comfort is definitely there. Took it on a like 50-kilometer trip picking it up. But yeah, that's nice. And hold on, just setting the seat up the way that I would traditionally drive. There we go. Okay. Now I've got the seat set up for the driver's seat the way that I would traditionally drive. Let's hop back to that second row. Ah, it's such a beautiful day. It's only like 17, 18 degrees out right now, but with it overcast like this, it makes it perfect for shooting. Yeah. The one thing about the door here, so I like that same highlight, but the bottle holder, teeny little water bottle maybe? I'd like to see something bigger for that door. But the speaker's taking up all the space. All right, and now, so with the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall, inside of the second row, sitting fully upright. Headspace, little tight. So fully upright, my head's actually touching the very top. So I would not want to get into a rollover accident if I was in the second row inside of this thing. Little tight for my liking, but there's still a good amount of foot space and knee space though. That's all. At the downside, if you had to get stuck in this middle seat if you're taller, there's a hump in the middle there. Oh no. And then look at this. Like Quasimodo, like sanctuary. No dice. I'm not fitting in the middle seat, the second row of the Sonata by any stretch. Like there's no way. No. If you've got kids though, Not a big deal because there are anchor points that are there, and then the top tether points are along the top as well. So pretty straightforward there. But yeah, like realistically, when I drive anyways, I'm always in the front seats. I would be okay with like a shorter distance trip because I just kind of like hunch a little bit in order to make this work. But with me being like right up at the top there, like it'd be really tricky if you got into a rollover accident for sure. But seat comfort wise is pretty good back here. It's nice. No pockets behind the driver's side, but there is one behind the passenger side, so a little mesh pocket there. You've also got a few power points there, so 2 USB Type-C. Like power points all over the place, which is good. And then from there, you've also got a little handle, hook, and light, and that's the same thing. A little handle, hook, and a light on the passenger side. There are cup holders built into the seat, but the only way you're going to get to it, grab your favorite fingers. You're just going to insert and grab in order to drop them down. So 2 little cup holders there as well. Cup holders, yeah, small cups, medium coffee, maybe large coffee if you're pushing it. Still can't get over those tiny little door ones though. Oh well. I will give Hyundai this. The second row of the Sonata is fairly comfortable. I just wish there was a teeny little bit more headspace. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to be driving regardless, or I'll like fight the person in the passenger seat for sure. But this is just the regular 2.5 liter engine. Let's go for a quick spin and see how it goes performance-wise. I will give the Sonata this. It's got a surprising amount of power when you need it, especially when you put it into that sport mode. Not bad. And this is just the base engine as well. So it's got 191 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. You can hear that there we go. I was wondering when it was going to shift. It was holding onto the RPMs a little bit more there because I'm in sport mode. Such a good mode to be in, especially if you're a fan of that sportier performance. So good. So good. All right, handling around a bend here. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. The handling is really good. Ooh, very nice. I mean, for sure. So that definitely is going to... There we go. Yeah, definitely going to drown out all the, like most of the road noise, but it is a little bit louder in here compared to other Hyundai vehicles. Like when I was in the Ioniq 6, really, really quiet inside that ride. And like this one, it's not like it's unbearably loud. There's just some audible road noise. All right, now this is the all-wheel drive version of the Sonata, and handling-wise, that's not bad. That's fun. It's coming up to the last little bit of me being inside of the Sonata, but I will say that it has been a pretty pleasant drive overall. I really like that it's a sedan because so many manufacturers are getting rid of sedans. So to actually be in a regular car and not a crossover or an SUV, it is a pretty good change. I don't like that it's just the regular 2.5 liter. It's plenty powerful for most people, but the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine that's going to be in the N line, it's just a step above performance wise. And it's not like you're using a ton more gas either in comparison. So if it were me, I would personally go for the N line, but I know some people just don't care about the power. You're just looking for an A to B. And that's where just the regular engine, like what we're looking at here in the Preferred or the SEL in the States, would come into play. I was checking the reliability of the Sonata, and honestly, like I was scouring forums. I was looking at the NHTSA's website and a few other places trying to see what negative things people were saying about the ride. There have been a few small ones, but in comparison, it's not bad because Hyundai has sold hundreds of thousands of these vehicles in North America alone in just the last few years. And it seems to be pretty well received and well reviewed from people that actually do own it. So I know that there are a lot of different vehicles inside of the Hyundai lineup you could look at, but the sedan, the Sonata, I think is a pretty good option for people that don't need a crossover or an SUV. They just want something, maybe as a first car or something to just get you from A to B, and you don't care about the added performance that you're going to get in some higher trims or some other models. And that was everything you needed to know about the 2024 Hyundai Sonata. You can find all of the build details and then links off to Hyundai Canada and USA down in the description. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. Until I see you next time, take care. Underneath the hood, underneath the hood, underneath the hood, for sakes. So it is a lock system and it's got a cap on there as well. You could always look for an aftermarket cap. Oh, those aftermarket caps.